Hello, I'm Janet, a 33-year-old stay-at-home mom living with my two wonderful children. Life has been quite good for us lately, although we've hit a rough patch due to some issues with my husband, mainly revolving around his mother. You see, my husband is very close to his mom, what some might call a mama's boy, and it sometimes feels like she's overly involved in our lives. Recently, the situation came to a head during a serious discussion we had. It started when my husband called me over and asked me to sit down because he wanted to discuss our finances. He reassured me that everything was fine with his job, but mentioned that we needed to tighten our budget at home to accommodate a new expense. When I asked what the expense was, he hesitated, taking a deep breath before revealing that he wanted to start giving his mother a monthly sum of money. According to him, it wouldn't be a huge amount, but given that she was getting older, he felt she needed the extra support. This puzzled me because his mother, Catherine, ran a successful business and was quite well off. She was a widow, and with her children out of the house, it didn't seem to me that she was in need of financial help. I expressed my concerns, but he brushed them aside, not willing to divulge how much he planned to send her. Insisting on transparency, especially since I managed our household finances, I pressed him for details. Finally, he admitted that he planned to send her $6,100 each month. I was shocked by the amount. $6,100 a month seemed excessive, especially considering that it was roughly what many families spend in total each month. I argued that it wasn't reasonable, but he was adamant. The disagreement escalated to the point where we ended up sleeping in separate beds that night, both upset and unresolved. This financial decision affected not only strained our budget, but our relationship as well. As someone who prioritizes smart financial management, the idea of sending $6,100 monthly to someone without a pressing need seemed impractical. That sum, totaling $63,500 annually, could significantly benefit our family by boosting our children's college funds, contributing to our health insurance, or increasing our savings. Alternatively, this amount could make a real difference if donated to charities supporting those in dire need. Despite my attempts to convey these thoughts to my husband, he remained unyielding. 6 months after he started transferring money to his mother, he even suggested I handle the monthly transactions, which felt like a further assertion of his priorities, placing his mother's whims over our family's financial well-being. However, this arrangement took an unexpected turn when I discovered new information about the situation. 5 months into the allowance, during a visit from my mother-in-law, she casually mentioned how this financial help had come at a crucial time. Business hadn't been as good, and although she hadn't wanted to ask for help, my husband had intuitively stepped in to support her. Hearing her admit to struggling financially changed my perspective. I was moved by her vulnerability and found myself sympathizing with her need. It seemed only right to support someone genuinely in distress. Yet, as we continued talking, the conversation took a perplexing turn. Catherine began discussing potential luxury vacations she could now afford thanks to the extra money. This struck me as odd. If she truly needed financial aid, why consider such extravagant expenditures? Whenever I seemed puzzled by her plans, she would quickly adjust her narrative, claiming she only meant such travels could happen once she regained her financial independence. This contradiction was confusing, but I gave her the benefit of the doubt, attributing it to a momentary lapse into wishful thinking. Over the next 3 months, I continued sending her the money, each time receiving heartfelt thanks that seemed to confirm her genuine need. Feeling guilty for doubting my mother-in-law and arguing with my husband, the financial strain of the situation soon began to impact our family life. Despite our efforts to adjust and cut corners, the reduction in our disposable income was noticeable, and I found myself trying to manage our finances more tightly. Then, one evening while tidying up my husband's office, curiosity led me to a text message on his phone from his mother. It read, "Hey Liam, hope you're doing well. Could you increase my monthly allowance? I want to enjoy some extra luxuries." I was taken aback. Given that she already received a substantial sum that many would find ample for basic needs, her request for more, specifically for luxuries, seemed excessive. Considering she was a healthy 62-year-old widow who lived alone, this request raised doubts about her claimed financial distress. Driven by a mix of concern and suspicion, I resisted the urge to delve deeper into my husband's emails and instead turned my attention to our family's financial records. Finding no clues there, I decided to approach the matter directly. I phoned Catherine late one evening. "Hello, Catherine, I hope everything's okay with you." She responded, "Well, I'm managing, but honestly, it's been tough. Sometimes I struggle to afford even basic things like toiletries. I'm really grateful to my son for helping me out." Seizing the opportunity, I invited her over for tea the following day, suggesting a casual get-together to perhaps learn more about her situation firsthand. "Tea sounds wonderful. Thank you for inviting me. You know, things have been tight for me too. Sometimes I can't even afford tea, so it would be nice to have some with you." "Oh, it'll be my pleasure, Catherine. Just come over and we'll have a nice afternoon together," I replied, setting my plan into motion. The next day, we sat down for tea, enjoying light conversation. When Catherine excused herself to use the bathroom, I saw my chance to uncover more about her financial reality. I found her phone in her purse, unlocked it, and opened her banking app. Women's intuition pushed me forward, feeling both the weight and the risk of what I was about to discover about her true financial standing. As my suspicions about Catherine's financial situation grew, I decided to delve deeper into her records. What I found was completely unexpected and left me reeling. Catherine, who I thought was struggling financially, actually had a staggering $2.1 million in her bank account, a discovery that I had to double-check to believe. The reality of her wealth was undeniable, as I refreshed her banking app and saw the same huge sum staring back at me. My confusion only intensified when I stumbled upon a text message on her phone from one of her employees. The message read, "Hello, Catherine. Please find attached the financial breakdown of last month's earnings. Just wanted to let you know it looks like we've made a big profit for the 5th month in a row. You're a fantastic businesswoman. I'm eager to hear your thoughts." Driven by a mix of disbelief and curiosity, I opened the attached document and was confronted with even more astonishing figures: a monthly profit of $10,200. For a small business, this was no small feat. Sitting there, absorbing the shock of what I'd discovered, a wave of anger washed over me. Catherine had been extracting money from her son, and indirectly from her grandchildren under the guise of need, which now appeared to be nothing more than a manipulation to boost her already substantial wealth. As I heard Catherine's footsteps approaching, I hastily cleared all evidence of my snooping and returned her phone to her purse, my heart racing. When Catherine returned, she thanked me warmly for the tea, continuing to play the part of a financially burdened elderly woman. "Oh, Janet, thank you again for the lovely tea. You know, as an old lady, it's tough to manage, especially when you're already struggling. Lately, things have been really hard for me, dear." Her words, now so clearly disconnected from her financial reality, echoed hollowly as I nodded, hiding my turmoil behind a polite smile. The discrepancy between her portrayed hardships and her actual prosperity left me grappling with what to do next. Catherine expressed her gratitude for the support my husband and I had been providing, and with a polite smile, she ventured to ask if it might be possible to increase her monthly assistance to $8,000. It took every bit of composure I had to maintain a calm demeanor in response to her request, given the discoveries I had made about her actual financial situation. "I understand that times seem tough for you and we want to help," I managed to say, keeping my voice even. "It's not as if you have millions tucked away." Her brief pause at my words nearly went unnoticed, but I was too attuned to her reactions now. She quickly covered her surprise, laughing it off. "Oh no, of course not. If I were that wealthy, I wouldn't be asking for more help, darling. So, what do you say? Regrettably, I had to let her down gently. Unfortunately, we can't manage an extra $1,900 right now. The change in Catherine's expression was immediate. Her smile vanished, replaced by a tight-lipped look of frustration. That's all right, no problem, she said briskly, her tone slightly colder. I have to leave now, but let's catch up again soon. She left in a hurry, almost as if embarrassed by a personal rejection. With the knowledge of her deceit fresh in my mind, any remnants of sympathy I had for her evaporated. I faced a dilemma about whether to reveal what I had discovered to my husband. After some thought, I decided it was important for him to see his mother's true character on his own, especially given his past criticisms of my concerns. It was a tough lesson, but one he needed to learn by himself. A few days later, the time came to send Catherine her usual $6,100 allowance. Despite having the money ready, I hesitated. Given what I knew, I opted not to send it immediately. I wanted her to experience the surprise and perhaps a bit of the hardship she had so falsely claimed to endure. This decision wasn't made lightly, but it felt necessary to underline the severity of the situation and to prompt a more genuine conversation in the future. When the money didn't arrive as expected, it was the wake-up call Catherine truly needed. As predicted, my husband called me a few hours later, visibly upset. "What's going on?" he demanded. "What do you mean?" I replied, trying to keep calm. "Don't play dumb, Janet. I know what you're up to. Why haven't you sent Mom the allowance? I'm getting tired of your games," he accused. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice. "Listen, I understand you care about your mom, and I'm sorry if it seems like I don't appreciate that, but you need to hear me out. There's a reason behind what I'm doing." He cut me off, his tone harsh and dismissive. "You don't even earn a dime to have a say in how we spend our money. It's my money, and I'll decide what to do with it. So when I say send money, you do it. You're just a housewife, remember that." His words were like a knife through my heart. How could he speak to me that way? All the frustration and anger I had contained for so long suddenly erupted, and I couldn't hold back any longer. "You know what your problem is. You don't appreciate me. Do you think being a housewife and mom is a breeze? Well, let's see how easy it is without me. I'm not sticking around to be treated like this. But before I go, check your mother's bank account. Don't bother calling me until you've done that. Have a nice evening." "Janet, wait, I didn't mean—" He started to say, but I had already hung up. I was done being treated like I didn't matter. Sometimes life throws challenges at us that force us to take a stand. I had been working tirelessly, and all my efforts were taken for granted. Let's see how he manages without me, especially when he discovers the truth about his mother's deceit. Driven by a mixture of defiance and the need for vindication, I sent him the photos I had taken of his mother's bank account details during my investigation. It was time he saw the full picture and understood the extent of the situation. I switched my phone to Do Not Disturb mode, gathered some essentials, and packed bags for myself and the kids. We checked into a nearby hotel, a move I explained away to the children by saying our house needed fumigation and it would be a short stay. To keep their worries at bay, I reassured them that Daddy was staying at a different hotel for the time being. I wanted to protect them from the harsh realities and the tension at home. They didn't need to bear the weight of adult problems. Despite setting my phone to ignore incoming calls and messages, notifications from my mother-in-law and my husband began to fill my inbox. I was too emotionally exhausted to confront them, so I focused on making the evening enjoyable and relaxing for my children. We played games and spent quality time together, a much-needed distraction for all of us. The next morning, I was awakened by a call from the hotel's front desk. "Hello, miss. There's someone named Liam here who'd like to meet you. For safety reasons, we need to confirm if you know each other." "Yes, I know him. He's my husband," I responded, letting them know they could give him my room number. When Liam arrived, he immediately embraced me, his hug full of regret and desperation. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for everything. I saw the evidence you sent me and you were right not to give her any more money," he said, tears streaming down his face as he clung to me. I led him into the room, and as he composed himself, we sat down to talk. "Darling, I'm so sorry for everything. I'm glad you realized what was going on. Can you tell me what happened?" he asked, genuinely remorseful. Just then, my phone rang. It was my mother-in-law. I hesitated but decided to answer. "Hello? How dare you invade my privacy like that? I could sue, you know. Do you even need the money? How dare you try to ruin my reputation in front of my son?" she accused furiously. Her words confirmed her disregard for the strain she was putting on our family. Despite her anger, I remained calm, aware that Liam needed to see this side of her for himself. Her manipulation had to be laid bare, not just for my sake, but for the well-being of our entire family. As my mother-in-law's voice crackled through the phone, her words were laced with malice, not resembling the woman I once knew, but more like a vindictive stranger. "Ha! You must be delusional if you think he'll stop sending me money. Do you think he'll listen to a mere housewife? You're sorely mistaken. Yes, I have money. I've always had money since my husband passed away. I just like to control Liam sometimes so he doesn't get too arrogant. He needs to remember that mommy comes first." Her harsh words turned my blood cold, and her tone, manipulative and bitter, shocked me deeply. The yelling was loud enough to wake the children, adding chaos to the already tense atmosphere. Unfazed by the impact of her actions, she continued, "So you're not bothered by how your selfishness has disrupted this household? You don't care that Liam and I have been arguing because of your actions. You don't even care that you've been stealing from your son and grandchildren." Her response was chilling. "Oh, come on. You two are headed for divorce anyway. I can't wait for that. They'll come home to me eventually. And as for those kids, well, I guess I don't really care." "Mom, that's incredibly cruel," I said, hoping Liam was listening. Liam, who had been quiet, finally spoke, his voice filled with disbelief and hurt. "Liam, honey, listen, I didn't mean it." "Nope, that won't work on me this time," he replied firmly. "I've seen your true colors and I've had enough. You've made the past few months hell for me and Janet. How could you manipulate me like this? I'm your son. What kind of evil has possessed you to do such terrible things?" I could hear the betrayal in his voice, the disappointment that he had not seen the signs himself. "I fell for your tricks, but my wonderful wife, Janet, saw through you all along. She knew something was off, but I shouted at her and disrespected her. Not anymore. Janet is my real family, not you. I never want to hear from you again." "Liam, wait, but I have no one," she pleaded weakly. "Maybe that's how it should be," he concluded, and with a definitive click, he ended the call, closing a painful chapter and perhaps opening the door to a new beginning for us. Despite his upset demeanor, I could see a clear sense of relief wash over Liam as he processed the truth. He had been manipulated his entire life, a realization that must have felt like a heavy weight being lifted from his shoulders. For the rest of the day, he was profoundly apologetic to both me and our children for the way he had behaved, and for the emotional distance he had imposed upon us. He confessed that he couldn't even endure a single night without us, acknowledging how much he had taken for granted. Liam expressed deep remorse for his past mistakes and made a heartfelt promise to change. He was determined not to let history repeat itself, especially now that he understood the manipulative dynamics that had clouded his judgment for so long. As for his relationship with his mother, he was resolute. When he said he didn't want to hear from her again, he meant it. Despite her repeated attempts to reach out, Liam consistently declined her calls. She had chosen her path, and now she had to face the consequences alone. His commitment to putting our family first marked a new chapter for us, filled with hope for a more united future.